There's another representative from P&G on the call who's going to coordinate the chat and let me know if there's any questions that pop through, because I can't see you all when I'm sharing my screen like this. So thanks for joining. I'm Sally McKenzie and I currently work for P&G as Commercial Strategy Manager on the Pampers business. So today I'm here to talk you through a bit about the business, so who we are at P&G, how we operate, and then with a specific focus on what it's like to work in the sales function, which is the function that I work in, and then also a bit on how to apply for a job with us. So to kick off, not many of you will recognise the logo on the screen, but Procter & Gamble, or P&G, are a multinational consumer goods corporation. Please can people just go on mute if possible? Thank you. So P&G are a multinational consumer goods corporation, and we specialise in a range of health, personal care and hygiene products. And our brands make it into the living rooms and kitchens and utility rooms and bathrooms of millions of homes around the world, and have been passed down from various generations. The company was founded over 180 years ago, so long-standing company, and some of the values that we have today still rung true back then. So firstly, as mentioned, we are a multinational company. Our headquarters are in Cincinnati, and we've got 65 leading brands that are sold in more than 180 countries. Across the world, we serve 5 billion consumers, and within that portfolio of brands, so our wide-reaching range of brands in hygiene and healthcare, etc., we have more than $20 billion brands. And so, like I said at the start, some of you might not recognise the P&G logo, but what you will recognise is some of the brands that I'm about to put on the screen just now. So as you can see there, we've got the likes of Gillette and Venus, Pantene, Head and Shoulders, Fairy, Ariel, Pampers, Tampax, Oral-B. So even though P&G is the umbrella company, so the company that owns all these brands, we don't tend to use the umbrella logo. Our brands each have their own identity, and I'm sure that many of you use the above brands on a daily basis. So just to touch on where it all began and how the company originated, the company was founded back in 1837 as a small soap and candle business. So there was a man called William Procter and another man called James Gamble, who were from England and Ireland, but they actually met in Cincinnati. And they decided to join together because they both married two sisters, and Procter & Gamble was born way back then. And back then, being in candles and soap, the purpose of the company was to make everyday life a little bit better. And this value still lies at the heart of the company's heritage. So our company priority is to understand Is that a question? A little bit of background noise. P&G's purpose back then was to make everyday life a little bit better, and this still runs true today. It's crucial for us to understand the consumer, so the people who buy our products, and so we can understand their needs and then innovate to deliver on their needs and with their needs in mind. And this is why a crucial pillar and focus for our company is research and development. P&G invests $2 billion per year in research and development, and that's more than any other company in our industry. So we recognise that in order to keep our brands at the top of the game and superior, we need to heavily invest in research and development and innovation. Please can people just go on mute? Is there any way to auto?
Sally, you're on mute at the moment. I think it's just muted everyone.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, great. Thanks. So we continue to invest in innovation, and that continues to be P&G's lifeblood. As well as this, so the importance of investing in research and development, the company is also defined by our what we call PVP, so purposes, values and principles. So we innovate with the consumer at mind, and then we enable our people, so the employees, to thrive by putting an emphasis on these core values. So integrity, leadership, ownership, passion for winning and trust. And as a result of this and the company culture that's therefore developed, we developed strong brands that improve consumer lives and then managed to deliver on leadership in sales and profit and value creation for the retailers that we work with, and then also for shareholders. So our global reach and understanding the 5 billion consumers that we serve gives us the capability to improve the community. And we recognise that with our brands, we have an obligation with our platform to also support communities in different ways. So I don't know how familiar you all are with the various different campaigns that we've run, but one that ran recently that resonated extremely well with consumers was our Always Like a Girl campaign. So when we launched this, the phrase like a girl was given negative connotation. So if someone said, oh, you throw like a girl or you run like a girl, it was seen as a negative thing. And we took this insight and flipped it on its head and said, why does doing something like a girl need to be a negative thing? And there was a whole campaign around our sanitary brand Always, and how doing things like a girl was a positive thing and you should be proud to be a girl, and the characteristics of being a girl were a positive thing. And then we did a survey afterwards of the like a girl phrase and whether it was seen negatively or positively. And amazingly, it was turned around and people recognised that it could also be seen as a positive thing. So using that platform, we try to make a difference in communities and make our brands stand for something and be a force for change. So I've just got a short video. I've just realised I've not shared with sound, so I'm just going to stop sharing my screen and reshare. I've just got a short video to show you all on other things that we support in communities using the profile of our brands. Let me know if sound's an issue.
Sound's not working, Sarah.
So no sound.
From the minute anybody walks in the door at P&G, it's a business that supports you to go after the causes you care about, whether that is championing an environmental passion point, whether it is volunteering in your local community, or whether it's marching the streets of pride. This is a company that will 100% empower you to do it.
For me as a graduate, it's very important that the business I work for has an impact on sustainability. I feel I really do have an impact on the sustainability of the supply chain in my current role. For example, we're really trying to reduce the use of non-recyclable materials and products in all our executions. Not only do we ask questions like, can we make it cheaper, can we make it faster or safer, we also ask questions like, can we make this in a more sustainable way?
There's a huge amount of work happening across the world and here in the UK by P&G and the people that work here to have an impact in local communities. Something really impactful I recently got to work on was the launch of a 6-part documentary series that P&G produced in partnership with National Geographic and Global Citizen, which looked at some of the causes of extreme global poverty. One of those was access to clean water, and it shed light on the work that our Children's Safe Drinking Water programme does to help give access in areas of need.
P&G has a very big diversity and inclusion network. The one that I look after is the LGBT Affinity Network for Northern Europe. The key aim for that is to make sure that our LGBT employees feel included and feel they can bring their whole selves to work. But then also we make sure that we look after our allies as well to make sure they're well educated on the topic and that they feel they can support the people around them. We use our brands as a force for good across the UK and wider. For example, a few months ago, I was really honoured to be involved in the FAIR campaign, which is where we changed the brand Fairy, the very well-known brand Fairy, to Fair for the Pride season. The idea behind this is we wanted to raise awareness, but also raise money for a charity, Albert Kennedy Trust, for homeless LGBT people who have been rejected by their families.
Inclusion is a game changer at P&G. Whilst we know it's important to be diverse, we need to make sure that those diverse voices around the table are heard. Whether that be an employee at a manufacturing site who sets up their own LGBT+ network, or whether it's an insight that an employee with sight loss brings to one of our brands, which creates an innovation, which means that millions of people with sight loss can tell the difference between shampoo and conditioner.
We also do a huge amount of work locally through our brands. One great example would be the work that Always has done here in the UK to help tackle period poverty.
My favorite thing about working on Always is that I could really make a positive change on people's life. We started our 1 pack equals 1 donation campaign. So when consumer, they buy a pack of Always, we donate 1 pad to girls. And so far, we have donated over 23 million products, and we were able to keep girls in school for over a year.
Being a good citizen is really important to everyone that works at P&G. It's no longer about the simple 9 to 5. Everybody wants to know that the businesses and the brands that they're representing are having a wider impact in society.
Great. So before we go into the next section, is there any questions on the content so far? Happy to take questions at the end as well, if that's easier.
Nothing in the chat for the moment.
Nothing in the chat for the moment. Okay, great. Okay, so the next section we're going to touch on is what sales is like at Procter & Gamble. This is obviously the role that I work in, so most familiar with it. And like I say, questions at the end, and we'll also talk a little bit about the recruitment process. So firstly, P&G is recognised for our leadership development, and we are year on year recognised by various different accolades for being a top employer, particularly within sales. And then within that, we have a really strong culture within sales and some pillars linked to the purposes, values and principles that we work towards to make sure that people, when they join sales, they're developed throughout their career and they also feel comfortable and confident to have ownership from day one. So starting with culture and leading. So in Procter & Gamble, we find it really important in sales that you lead your business from day one. So having a vision of what you want your business to be and what you want to achieve, and then bringing people along with you. And we'll go into a little bit more detail after I've just talked through the culture section on what the actual roles within sales look like and what a day-to-day would look like for somebody working in sales. The second one is selling. So obviously, as part of sales, you would be doing some selling. So really within this bucket, it's about creating long-term sustainable value for consumers, for customers, and also for the company. So within Procter & Gamble, because our brands are so well established, sales isn't typically calling people up and having to drive a hard bargain by any stretch. It's very much about building and nurturing business relationships with the retailers, relationships that are likely already established, but that can always be bettered through stronger negotiation and building plans with them that work both for them and also for us. And it's also about solving their problems. So obviously retailers at various different points in time will have different strategies, different ideas, different leadership, and it's about working together so we evolve together. So P&G as a supplier evolve with the retailer in mind and make sure that our plans that we build together are always meeting the key performance indicators of both us and also them. And then in addition to this, also winning. So we leverage what we know about consumers and our diverse backgrounds and skills and all of the training that we have in the programs to win versus competition. Obviously, this is crucial to deliver on shareholder return. And we define winning clearly and deliver for P&G and for our consumers. So making sure that you're clear within your role, what your targets are, what the ambition is, how we grow the brands. And we deliver on these results by being recognised as a strong organisation for developing people within sales and having one of the best training programmes in the industry. So in terms of the roles that come under the sales umbrella, so there's 3 roles that you would have to be coded to sales in Procter & Gamble. So the first one is account management. And we'll go into a bit more detail on what each of these is and what day-to-day looks like. The second one is category management, or shopper-based design, we also call it. And then the third one is market strategy and planning. So this is what I work in at the moment as a commercial strategy manager on Pampers. My acronym title would be MS&P. So in terms of what each of these roles entails, so an account manager. The day-to-day of an account manager is very, very varied. Ultimately, what we do is we influence and build relationships with our retailers, and execute plans to drive our brands in the best way possible. So if you imagine all of our brands that we have at the moment, we can't get them to the consumer without retailers. They really are our partners and our middleman. So we need to work closely with them to ensure that we've got the right supply forecast, the right strategy, the right commercial plans, the right financials, the marketing support that they need in order to deliver and drive consumers through their doors. And then also looking back at the data and performance of our brands in those retailers to make sure we're always looking for trends, identifying anomalies, looking what competition's doing, to make sure that our plans are always set up to win and to deliver joint value for us and also for the retailer. So it's not a traditional sales role by any stretch. You'll spend time on the phone, but only to your buyer and only to build that relationship and to work out ways to grow the business. You wouldn't be doing any cold calling, which is sometimes what people think when they first hear sales as a title in a role. In terms of a typical day as an account manager, so you might have a weekly meeting with a buyer or a retailer. If you work on one specific retailer and category, you probably have a weekly meeting. Then there's business reporting, so making sure that your manager and the rest of the team know how your brands are delivering in that retailer. Forecasting with the supply team and the budget with finance, so making sure you're working with all the multifunctionals to make sure your plans land excellently in store. Designing marketing plans, so working with the marketing team very closely to make sure that your in-store executions have the best possible artwork and then tie up to the logos and assets that you're going to use online, for example, so it's a full holistic shopping experience. And then also a very crucial part of the role of all of the sales roles is development and training. So taking that time for personal development, for looking at your opportunity areas for development and working on those whilst also in role. So an example of something that you might execute as an account manager would be a new product launch. So you've been told by the commercial team and by the planning team that there's a new Christmas scent coming on Febreze. This is just an example. And you'd be working plans to make sure that this lands in your retailer to drive incremental sales over the Christmas period. So the first thing you'd need to do is take the product to the retailer. So you'd be selling the product to the retailer and talking about why it's a point of difference and why they should list it. Then when you're trying to work through the launch plans in store, you'd be working with all the multifunctionals to get the forecast right, the marketing team to land a strong visibility plan to make sure it's got the best possible chance of driving sales in store, and then also working executionally to make sure it lands seamlessly in store. An example here is obviously this launching in Asda, and you can see we call this a shipper, this display site, the shipper landing in store and delivering on those sales. So it's a great feeling as an account manager, being able to go into a store and seeing your displays and thinking, I did that, I actually managed that from start to finish. And then you can see the data afterwards and see the sales that you're delivering on. The second role within sales that you could do at Procter & Gamble is category manager. So a category manager is someone who becomes an absolute expert in a specific category. So for example, if you were working on baby care, you would be working on Pampers to a certain extent because that is a big part of the baby care category, but you'd also be looking at the other brands and how you work to optimize the total category to deliver on sales for the total category. So you'd be looking at the private label range. So the private label range in Asda, for example, is called Little Angels. You'd be looking at Huggies to see what they're doing, basically to make sure that you've got a total category vision that drives total value for the retailer. And the ambition of this is that if you've got a category, as P&G, our role within that is to grow the total category. We want to grow our brands within that, but the best way to grow our brands is to grow the total category and for retailers to have the right strategy for that total category. So like it says on here, you'd be the thought leader for that category with insights on consumer needs, consumer understanding. You might do some consumer testing to understand how habits and practices are changing, and making sure that you're making those recommendations on what range they need, what promotion plan they need to the retailer. And you'd work closely with the account manager to make sure that your joint plans align. But the main aim of this is you're delivering insight on that category to the retailer. So a typical workday for a category manager might be the deployment of a category strategy. So if I give an example, I apologise that most of my examples are baby examples, but it's just what I've known most recently. In the UK at the moment, we're seeing a longer term trend in birth rate decline. So it's really challenging because there simply are less nappies needed in the market. So a category strategy might be to try and trade people up to a higher cost nappy, so a more premium nappy. And as a category manager, you might go into the retailer and talk about how you're going to use the category brands to drive that strategy. Then you'd also be involved in planning and executing the range reviews, so making sure that retailers have the optimal range to deliver on category value. You'd also be part of the reporting, so data analysis, and making sure that you're showing whether something's working or whether something needs tweaking within the range to make sure we're driving category value. Insight on consumer insights, like we talked before. Launching new products, you'd be a big part of a new product launch. Where do we want to put the new product on fixture? Does it need to be at eye level? Whereabouts on the shelf does it need to sit? How are we going to put it versus the rest of the brands? Do we need to merchandise all of the different scents in a different way? And then again, within this bucket, also development and then coaching, similarly to in account management. And then the final role within sales is MS&P, Market Strategy and Planning Manager. And this is more of a strategic role that is a bit of a step back from the day-to-day. So this is kind of short and long-term designing strategies that you think are going to deliver for the retailer in your market. So me on Pampers, I'm the commercial link between the design team, the global design team who sit in Geneva, and the UK markets. So they might come with an idea and go, we're bringing a new nappy to market and it's going to deliver on all of these benefits. And I'd need to say to them, well, in order for it to work in the UK, it needs to deliver on the benefits that meet the UK consumer need. So I almost vouch for the UK in that global strategy design and influence to make sure that they bring a product or an initiative that's going to work for the UK consumer. And we work very, very closely with the customer teams, so the account managers and the category managers, to build those plans in retailers. So we work with the global team and then we deploy to the account managers and the category managers who deploy to the retailers. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of the chain. And then a typical workday for an MS&P might be speaking to the customer teams. This is crucial. They're the people who execute your plans. So spending a lot of time with account managers to make sure that they're clear and happy with the global strategy and what's being brought to them from the global team. Again, reporting on total category value and value share and where we're sitting versus competition. Business building meetings, so a lot of meetings with the global team about the plans, the innovation plans for the next 3 to 5 years to make sure that we've got the right plan for the market. Category sales, launch plans, and then again, key bucket in all of the sales roles is development and coaching. So hopefully that is a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but it gives you an idea of how sales is slightly different to what you might traditionally think of as sales, and there are various different roles that you can do within that. So in terms of why choose P&G, basically our people are our greatest asset. So if you can read this quote here, this was one of the presidents of P&G in the 40s, back in 1947. He said, if you leave us our money, our buildings and our brands, but take away our people, the company will fail. But if you take away our money, our buildings and our brands, but leave us our people, we can rebuild the whole thing in a decade. So at P&G, we really, really recognise the importance of people and developing people. And it's a huge priority. You'd have, you know, monthly sessions where you're talking about your career, one-to-ones with your manager. It's really closely monitored to make sure people feel that it's true progression opportunities in the company. And then in terms of what can be offered, so these are kind of the buckets that we focus on. We talked about the first one before, so meaningful work from day one. You will be given an account from day one if you come in as a sales graduate. There's none of this easing you in, little bit drip feed responsibilities. You are given that responsibility from day one to make sure that you feel like you're trusted and you've got that ownership to deliver on the business. world-class professional learning and leadership developments. Like I talked before, there's a strong training program that you'll do at the start of your graduate role. So initially there's some structured training that lasts between 2 to 3 weeks, but then beyond that you'll be learning all of the time, and there'll be various different training programs within your first 2 years at the company that you go on that are structured to make sure that you get them at the right time whilst learning on the job. And inclusive and build from within culture. So this is a huge one for me. If you talk to our CEO, if you talk to our general manager, if you talk to the president of Northern Europe, they are all graduates. They all started at P&G as graduates, which is amazing. And they started on accounts just like you would if you applied for sales, and then worked their way up, because P&G believe that they train people in a way that enables them to progress through their career. And the way that they're trained means that you have the skills that are needed to make those progressions. And there's a great stat about how many people, there's various different consumer goods companies where the current CEO started at P&G. And it goes to show basically that the training program is really strong and superior. Flex at work, so working from home. You can see right now I've blurred my background because I'm in my bedroom. There's lots of opportunity to flex work around your daily schedules. There's no rigid rules about, I mean, there's an expectation that you're in the office for a certain amount of time, but there's also ability to flex the times that you start and the days that you work in the office. And then sustainability and social responsibility. So hopefully you got a snippet of this from the video, but this is a real core pillar that we focus on as Procter & Gamble. And there's huge opportunities as soon as you join the company to get involved in these initiatives and educate the rest of the company more about it, and make sure that this is a focus for us and our brands as we develop them. A few more slides just on how we learn and develop. So as I talked several times now, we put a huge importance on development and training. And the way that we train people is majority on experiences, so learning on the job. So even though you do have an amount of structured training, we take a 70-20-10 approach. So 70% of the learning is from those experiences and training with your manager. And that'll be through the day-to-day, one-to-ones, sitting with your manager and talking through challenges that you have. 20% learning from others, so this is coaches, mentors or peers. So you might have somebody who is an expert on a certain part of the business that you go to for specific asks, or who set up a training to talk you through a specific system or process. And then only about 10% is from actual courses and materials, because the way that P&G develop people is by moving them into a new role at the time in which they're ready to learn the next new thing. So as soon as you feel like you're plateauing and not learning much, P&G will step in and move you onto a role that opens doors and means that you're learning again. And then in terms of career progression, so career progression at P&G, like I said, it's a huge promote from within culture. And if you are performing, you will have an annual compensation review, so an annual salary review where your performance is reflected upon, and then your salary will change depending on that. And then you're also given opportunities, like I said, to move. As soon as you feel like you're not developing, you will be offered a different role in the company that pushes your progression on further. So any questions on that specifically when we come to the Q&A, just let me know. And then in terms of applying, so all of our opportunities are on the PG Careers website. So I've put the website at the top there. It is a bit of a clunky website because on the initial page, it has all of the job recos for the whole company globally. But if you just filter down into the specifics, so for example, if you're interested in the sales function, if you type the keyword sales in, you can then also select location. So you could select UK or whichever country you'd want to apply for, and then it should filter down to all of the opportunities available. In terms of recruiting for sales, there are 2 routes into sales. So the first one is doing an internship. So you apply on the website for an internship, you fill in the forms, you'll interview, and then you'll come and do an internship at one of our offices. So either in our Brooklands office, which is in Surrey, or in our Harrogate office in the north. Those internships run over summer and tend to be 10 weeks. Paid internships, of course, and then you could be offered a job immediately after that, or if you've got a year of university left, you could go back to university and be offered it for the following September. And then the other route is our Commercial Careers Academy. And the simple way to think of this is that it's an assessment centre, but it runs over 2 days, and you'll come and have your interview and do a group case study and present back to our panel of recruiters to assess you, and then you could be offered a job straight out of that. So 2 slightly different routes. The internship is a great idea if you're still not quite sure and you want to have a taste of the job, and also it gives you a great experience and kind of slight level up when you start the job as a graduate, and also gets you some nice cash in the summer. And then the Commercial Careers Academy is the more traditional, shorter assessment centre. And excitingly, we've got one coming up in June. So for people who are in their final year or in their penultimate year, you could apply now for the Careers Academy in June and have a job offer ready for September. And then in terms of the application process, it's fairly standard compared to other companies. I'm sure that some of you are in the thick of applying for things now. So you submit an application, there's an online screening and then a reasoning test. Then you'll be invited to interview. And then once you've had your interviews, you would then be given an offer. And that might be for an immediate grad start job if you've applied for the Commercial Careers Academy or for an internship. Just as an example, what I talked before, so if you're trying to search, if you filter by sales and then the country that you're looking for, you'll see all of the different opportunities, and the ones that are internships will obviously be called internships, and then the assessment centre is called the Commercial Careers Academy. So just look out for those. And that is all the content. So hopefully there's lots of questions coming in on the chat and we can get to those and answer them. I'll stop sharing my screen so I can see the Teams call.
A couple of questions that have come through in the chat, Sally. I don't know whether you can see them now, but I guess if you start off with what can a graduate expect in their first 1 to 3 months at P&G?
Yeah, for sure. So in sales, you'll start by doing a structured training program. So like I said, this lasts between 2 to 3 weeks, and you'll learn various things, selling, and also some system work before you then start straight away in your role as an account manager or a category manager. So you'll be given a job and responsibility from probably 2 weeks into the company. You'll then work very closely with your manager to develop your skills on the job, but you can expect to kind of be in touch with your buyer and the retailer and working on the day-to-day as an account manager within kind of the first 3 to 4 weeks. So it's really, you get that ownership from day one, and then you develop your skills on the job with a huge amount of support. So not only will you have your direct manager, you'll also have a team around you, depending which customer you work on, who can help develop you, who are at various stages of their career.
Amazing, really useful. And what do P&G look for in a potential graduate to join them? So any top tips of what they look for in the application, or what sort of qualities you see around P&G that are quite common?
Yeah, so I would say a key thing about applying for P&G is that when we conduct interviews, we're really looking for potential. You don't need to have had a sales job. You don't need to have had specific experience. You don't even need to have had a degree in a certain discipline. Sometimes people think, oh, if I want to apply for marketing, I need a business degree, or if I want to apply for sales, I need to have worked in sales or have a specific degree. We don't look at degree discipline. Like I say, we look at the skills that you've developed and your potential. So my biggest piece of advice is search the website, make sure you're clear on the purpose, values and principles and the mission for the company. And then in your interview, show how you demonstrate those skills, give examples of times when you've demonstrated those skills. And just be yourself. Like at the end of the day, an interview is also about you understanding if the company is right for you. So make sure you prepare well and make sure you know the details of the company so you can kind of make it seem like you're very interested in the culture. But looking on the website for the kind of core values would be my biggest piece of advice.
Amazing. Yeah, to echo that, I did ancient history and I'm still here. So yeah, you really don't.
I also did history, Rem. So
All good. I think that probably also answers. There was another question of any recommendations on how to get the job. I'd love to work at P&G. I think that sort of covers that as well. Agree, like completely be yourself and have a look at what's online. We also have a question: can you work as a part-time intern within P&G? I don't know if you want to talk about like how long the internships normally are, sort of the months.
Yeah, so the internships are usually 10 weeks, and the reason that we do that is to enable you to have a full taste of what the job is actually like. So sometimes we found that shorter internships don't allow you to have a chance to kind of get a taste of the job. And so we do run them for that length of time, so you can have a go at doing probably 3 different projects to prove your various different skills during that time.
Amazing. And placement year opportunities. That's a bit more of a niche one, I think. So I think, again, any placement year opportunities that we do have, they would be posted online. So keep an eye out online, or they'll be going through your universities as well. So they're not as common as the internships or the apparently graduate scheme.
And we do have placement years in the supply chain. We also do in sales, but it's only based in Harrogate at the moment. So if you wanted to be down south, that would potentially be a challenge. But like Remy said, if you just keep an eye on the website and you type in the keywords, which will be placement year, see what opportunities come up. I'm not sure if the applications are still open for next year. I'm pretty sure they closed a few months ago for next year anyway. If you're in your first year looking for the following year, keep an eye on the website.
Perfect. And I think you can also turn alerts on the website as well, if you'd like to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so you can sign up, you can put your email address in and the positions you're interested in, and then it will send you a reminder if a job comes up. That's a really good shout, Rem.
Brill. Any opportunities for MBA graduates? And there's also and then a separate question about where. Oh, sorry, there are more questions. Separate question about where will an MBA student with multiple years of sales, multiple years of experience in sales and marketing be placed? So I guess the experience hires as well to discuss that.
Yeah. So the graduate role is a really interesting question, because sometimes when you see graduate role, you think, oh, everyone's going to have just come out of university and I'm not going to feel in the right place. For transparency, I did teach first before I started at Procter & Gamble. So I was a teacher for 2 years. Then I transitioned to P&G after those 2 years and started on the graduate programme. And in my intake, we all varied. Some people had been in their career for 3 years and then started on the graduate programme. Some people 5 years and they started on the graduate programme. So if you don't have any experience and you're still interested in sales or marketing, don't shy out, think that you can't still apply for the graduate roles. You absolutely can. If you do have experience, we do have external hire positions available, more experienced hire positions available. And again, they'll be posted on the website. They come up more sporadically. We obviously don't have a standard intake of external hires because it's all just based on business need. So if you again set up the filters and the alerts on the job website, you'll be able to see when they crop up and whether they're in our Surrey office or in Harrogate in sales.
Perfect. Another question on do we have data science, data analytics teams? So some of the other.
Yes, we do. So we have analytics and insights as a specific role, which is all to do with the specific data consumer analysis and more broadly of the total kind of fast moving consumer goods market. Again, they'll be posted on the website. We take graduates in. And there's also various different routes into those roles. I don't think we do internships in analytics, but there's still graduate roles available if you look on the website.
Brilliant. And then a couple of questions on can I apply for the internship? I've just completed my dissertation this week. I've just graduated. I guess just to echo what Sally said, like we have roles that are open right now. So we have commercial careers academies that are going live in June. So if you go onto our website, or I think Katie's going to send out the link afterwards of how you can apply, that you can do tomorrow and look to try and get onto the careers academy in June, if not September. Oh, sorry, I was just flicking through. Any remote graduate positions? Living in Scotland, do you have any remote graduate positions?
So we don't at the moment. You need to be based out of an office. So at the moment we're doing a bit of a hybrid working. So we're in the office for 3 days. So my team choose to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, for example. So I'll be in the office Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I'll work from home on Thursdays and Fridays. The reason being that it's important to be around your team. And at the moment, we feel that that's the best way to kind of develop and have that support network. So there's no roles that are 100% remote currently.
Perfect. And a good question here about during your progression in sales, is it possible to switch between account management and category? Is it correct that M&P is more senior role that you need more experience for?
Yeah, really interesting question. So you're absolutely right that market strategy and planning, because it's very much strategic commercial thinking and you're working more with the global team, that wouldn't be a first role. So you'd probably progress into that after you've been in the company for maybe 3 years. So I got my first commercial strategy manager role after I'd been in the company for 4 years. In terms of account management and category management, when you first apply, you will be given a role, a specific role. So you'll be assigned a role, be that in account management or category. If you've got a vested interest in one or the other, you could talk to your manager about your second role being in one or the other. But it's also really, really useful to experience both. And a lot of the time people move through the company and do both roles at some point in time. So I've not actually ever done category. I did 4 account manager roles and then I moved on to market strategy and planning, but that's really just because of business need. So you might start in account management and do that for a year, then move to category management, do that for a year, and then back to account management, for example. So yes, there's definitely opportunities to move between the two. If you've got a specific preference, you just need to work those plans with your manager once you've started.
Super helpful. And I think one of our colleagues, Alice, has just posted a link to our UK and Ireland LinkedIn page, which will give you a load more information about like different positions within the company and how to apply and things like that. So make sure you're following that too, because you'll get loads and loads of fresh content on there every week. Especially if you're applying. A few more questions, one of which an interesting one about saying, considering the P&G reputation in environmental sustainability, is there any position related to sustainability consultant in your company that allows scholars and experts to bring more insight to paving the way to net zero? Anything on that, and let me know if you want me to also comment.
So we're always focusing on this as a pillar, and within each of our teams, so in our Pampers team, in our Tesco team, in our Asda team, for example, there's always what we call a SPOC, an expert in the area of sustainability, to make sure that we're driving that agenda both through our brands and also through our retailers. Now, there are more specific roles, kind of higher up, more senior roles in P&G who deliver specifically on our sustainability goals and agenda, but there's no roles at graduate level that specifically focus on that. We do work with a lot of different consultants and things in this area to make sure that we're always driving it as a focus. But again, look on the website. I don't know if you've got experience and you're looking for something a little bit more senior, but definitely at graduate level, there's nothing specifically on sustainability.
But I definitely echo that if it's something that you're interested in, then the company genuinely supports what you want to do, and there's always opportunities to get involved in that. And as you progress through the company, those opportunities become more and more as well. So great question. Skipping through there, we've got a couple of questions on sort of project management, business management and leadership. So do you have an internship in project management? I guess the question to that again is if you have business experience, business management experience, project management experience, I'd say that you can definitely still apply for what's interesting to you. So whether it's in sales or in marketing or in supply, it is almost a project management role. You are owning that account. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, Sarah.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, all of our roles are available on the website, and because we don't look for a specific degree discipline, all of those skills that you've learned in your degree will 100% be transferable to any one of those roles. So even within finance, like the strategic thinking and planning would be super important. We don't have specific project manager roles in the company, but like I say, the skills would be extremely transferable, and it would definitely be a respected degree in your application.
Brilliant. I think last couple of questions. Any top tips for new starters in September, or I guess that rolls into new starters whenever? What would you give as your sort of 2 top tips?
It's a bit of a cliche when you talk to people about starting something new, but the biggest piece of advice is just to be a sponge. You are working with amazing people and top talent and people who have amazing experience. And so soaking up everything that you hear around you, listening to your manager, being open to learn, meeting new people is absolutely crucial in those first few weeks and months, especially so you get the most out of it and you feel comfortable and enjoy it and get to know your colleagues. It's a difficult time, it's a transition, and you have to accept that at the start you're not going to know everything, but it's also super exciting and you'll be in it with other people. So the way that we recruit or try to recruit as much as possible is through intakes. So you've got a support network of people who are exactly the same level as you, who you can lean on for those bits of support, those questions that you might not want to ask your manager. And so just soak it all in, work hard, try hard, but also enjoy yourself. And just enjoy the experience.
Amazing. And final one, unless there are any other urgent ones that come through, are those who have not graduated with a 2-1 eligible to apply it, but then the add-on to this is if they've got a master's degree. And if you're not able to answer that now, then we'll get that sent out in the email as well.
I can't remember if the requirement is a 2-1. I'll check on the website. But yeah. I think if you've got a master's degree, it might be that you can still apply, but I'll have to check the entry requirements.
Definitely, I'd check the website, and it will tell you whether you're eligible or not on that. But pretty sure your masters will supersede your degree. Any final questions before we go on? Visa and anything to do with visa requirements are also on the website, so I think it's best because everyone's in a very different situation, so I would advise you checking the website for the ins and outs of visas and offering visas. Anything else, feel free to come off mute if you do have a question and you don't want to type in the chat.
Good afternoon. Yeah, so I saw this missed call on my other line. That's what.
Not sure if that was a question or.
I don't think so.
Okay. Cool. I think we are all okay. Any questions with regards to academic results, qualifying for? I would really check online because it will give you a detailed overview of whether you qualify for it or not. If you're qualifying before you have your degree, that can be factored into when you are actually applying as well. So that is fine. Sally, any final words to close with?
I don't think so. Just feel free to add me on LinkedIn if you do have any questions. I know it's a difficult time when you're applying for jobs and it can be a bit of a minefield, so I'm more than happy to help and answer questions there directly if you've got something more specific. And thank you all for joining. Hopefully you can find all the rest of the information that's needed on the careers website.
Yeah, perfect. And just make sure you check out the LinkedIn page as well, PNG UK and Ireland. That will give you loads of information about when roles are live as well. We will check anything that's online. If the website isn't showing summer internships as of now, we will also send you through in the email the link to go on and apply to make it super simple.
I think that at the moment the only thing available is the Commercial Careers Academy because it's too late for this year for the internship. Yeah. So the internship will go live again probably September for the following year. So at the moment, if you're looking for something this summer or you're looking for a job this September, the best route is the Commercial Careers Academy.
Perfect, yeah. And that is one thing just to note, make sure you're constantly checking because new roles come on quite often. Just because they've disappeared for June, there'll be more coming around for September on the from the grad scheme point. Perfect, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sal, for taking everyone through that as well. And I hope everyone has a great week.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.